Hello everyone, I'm sure you can recognize that. That is Heinrich Heine, or Harry Heine as he was widely known. He's a celebrated German poet. Hear the lyre, as in that music from ancient, musical instrument from ancient Greece, L-Y-R-E, not L-A-I-R. Lyrical poesy, as it was set to music. He played the lyre to it. Heine and his wife, just called Mrs. Heine, not giving her actual name. So he had children, grandchildren, descendants to this day. Anyway, and here the palm, okay? So born 1797 in Western Germany, the Duchy of Berg, I can't remember which city, but largely grew up in Dusseldorf. And so he was an early travel writer, and he says, where shall I, the wander weary, last be arrested, in a resting state, as in buried, under palms in the south or under limes on the Rhine. So he grew up in the Rhineland, and he can speak the Rhenish dialect of German, obviously standard German, absolutely fluent in French, but he never quite managed to suppress his German accent, learn a bit of English. His father was a well-to-do businessman, mainly trading in textiles, but his uncle Salomon was an extremely successful banker. By modern terms, a multi-millionaire. So he's apprenticed to his uncle, but he found it incredibly tedious, so gave up. And they realized he was bookish. In those days, even if you were very upper middle class, you didn't necessarily go to university. That was very much a minority thing. But he attended the University of Bonn and then Berlin and another one. In those days in Germany, it's quite normal for an undergraduate to do 1 year here, 6 months there, 2 years another one, another year in another university to move all. So really to get to know all the different German states, of which there were 360 when he was born. Remember, he was born shortly after the French Revolution. And his homeland was actually occupied by France for quite a few years. But nevertheless, he was an ardent Francophile. German nationalism was only really getting going when he was middle-aged. He died here in 1856. So he moved to France in 1831. Yeah, why am I saying 15? 1831, just after the July Revolution. And he liked Louis-Philippe Égalité. He'd taken that surname, someone who supported the French Revolution in 1789. And look here, this laurel wreath as in a winner, and this thing here laid with a stone. So, and that's a symbol of what, his home state or city? It's not the Polish flag anyway. And this will be mistranslated again. Well, where will I in what the wüste is, eingeschaut von, something from a foreign hand, or shall I rest on the coast, or in the sea in sand, and so on. So always further we shall, I don't get it, God's heaven, like here, and as the lamp of death is extinguished, night and the stars over me. Okay, so here's some of his poesy about where he was going to be when he died. So a lot of his poesy was set to music by Schubert and others. He was a third cousin of Karl Marx, and he was a distinguished epistolarian. He met Karl Marx, but not that very many times. So Heine, he was born Jewish, converted to Christianity in the 1820s, when the family had been slack in their observance, and he'd largely gone to Christian schools, being a very Catholic area, so Catholic Christian ones. But he converted to Lutheranism, because when he was in Prussia, to avoid discrimination, but was not a devout Christian anyway. So I think his wife came from a Christian family. That was him. So he lived in relative poverty, but was a bit of a grand old man of letters. So tended towards radicalism in politics, but wasn't so fascinated with politics as his kinsman Karl Marx. So, and then he was laid to rest here. So for some people, he was the most outstanding German poet of the 19th century. Welcoming the 1848 revolution, not going back to participate in it. He was quite an old bod then. He was 51. 51 then is about sort of 81 now, because of course people didn't live very long. And then he was ill for the last several years of his life. He said he was more or less in his grave already. So I wonder if this was said it was put up in 1901, as you can see, when German literary type said, as an outstanding literary critic and poet himself, he must have this put up. Where does it say? Yeah, erected in 1901. But the Nazis very much disliked him because of his Hebraic ethnicity. They destroyed all monuments to him. He invented a Lorelei as a character. There's a statue of her in New York, and they monitored him all over Germany. His works were all burned when the Nazis burned all books by Jewish writers. in the summer of 1933. Right, so that is Heinrich Heine. And as he presciently said, where first you burn books, later you burn people. And indeed, that's exactly what happened in Germany. Of course, in his lifetime, the situation being getting better and better for German Jews. Little could he have imagined that, really about a century after he attained manhood, it would get so much worse. That is Heinrich Heine here in Cimetière Montmartre in Paris. It is the place to be seen dead in. That's sort of the Jewish section up here. But as I say, he died a Christian.